I am Hercule Poirot. The crime is murder. The murderer is one of you.
Actor-director Kenneth Branagh loves Hercule Poirot, and it shows in his second outing with the character. A loose sequel to Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile remains somewhat faithful to Agatha Christie's novel in its overall telling, but plays fast and loose with its structure, pushing the murder part of the murder mystery further back into the runtime in order to set up a much more intimate story. It doesn't always work. In fact, its first hour often flounders in shallow water, but once Branagh's approach to the character finally clicks, the film's many weaknesses begin to fade into the background, making room for a surprisingly intense and personal second half. It's an adaptation that requires mountains of patience, but that patience does pay off.
I did not trust her. I still don't.
What did you do last night?
You accused me of murder.
He accuses everyone of murder.
It is a problem, I admit.
Before introducing its all-star cast, Death on the Nile invents a brand new backstory for the Belgian detective, one that goes against most of what Christie had previously established. The horribly melodramatic origin story is the first test of our patience, but even this strangely executed flashback ends up just about fitting into Branagh's grand plan for the character. That plan begins to emerge slowly and surely when Poirot vacations in Egypt in 1937, where he runs into Tom Bateman's Book, who introduces us to the film's many players at a fancy wedding. The bride and groom, Gal Gadot's Lynette and Armie Hammer's Simon, are being stalked by Simon's ex-lover, Jacqueline de Belfort, played by Emma Mackey. Mackey simmers with a jealousy waiting to explode into something uncontainable, making her especially alluring to watch. In contrast, Gadot and Hammer have a negative amount of physical and emotional chemistry, despite their romance being a central fixture. Thankfully, Lynette and Simon are far from the only major characters, despite their importance to the plot. The most immediately impactful supporting performance among the wedding guests comes courtesy of Russell Brand as Lynette's former fiancé and Ali Fuzzle as Lynette's shifty-eyed cousin and estate agent who slithers through every scene as if every line and interaction of his contains ulterior motives. In addition to the two of them, Bateman layers Book with the charm and self-affliction of a young Marlon Brando. Slowly, Branagh reveals his through line for Poirot, which is about clashing cynicism and optimism in the face of love. Despite Poirot's best efforts, the methodical detective is drawn deeper not only into a mystery of murder, but of passion gone awry, which brings to the surface feelings he had long and comfortably buried. Before Death on the Nile gets to this emotional place, however, it drags its feet through an occasionally off-kilter aesthetic experience. Each time the story stops at some famous location, these exteriors are brought half to life through an awkward digital unreality that is distracting at best, and at worst, a direct clash with its attempts to feel grand and exotic. Coupled with the strained performances from the likes of Gadot, it all feels uncanny and fake, when the reality of the extravagance is meant to be a major theme. However, once the story has taken plunge after plunge into bloody territory, Branagh's visual approach sidesteps most of these problems. The digital sheen of daytime landscape shots is replaced by cramped interiors, in which interrogations and confessions unfold in rightfully uncomfortable spaces, awash in mysterious darkness. The performances are allowed a focused intensity in the film's back half, including and especially Branagh's. Branagh's struggle as Poirot's armor begins to crack leads to some of the most piercing individual close-ups in his recent career, and they carry a surprising emotional heft. Even if the central pieces of the mystery aren't all that mysterious, everyone who ends up caught in its crosshairs is afforded enough emotionally incisive moments that add up to a worthwhile whole.
How many great stories are tragedies?
It takes Death on the Nile far longer than it should to reach its most impactful moments, but actor-director Kenneth Branagh cares deeply enough about Detective Poirot to make it work. While serviceable as a murder mystery and surprisingly plain as a story of opulence, the film ultimately succeeds when Branagh turns the camera away from the digital settings and occasionally fake supporting performances and points it at himself. For more movie reviews, check out what we thought of Moonfall and Jackass Forever. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
Someone else is dead.
You lie in my face! Lock the doors!
The murderer is here.
And we'll stay here.